this content is for kids.
It's not for kids.
Isn't that what I said?
No, it's not for kids. If you are 13 years or younger, this is not for you. Do I have to kill somebody in order to actually make that point across?
No, man, you don't have to kill
Wait
no one.
a second.
Oh, no.
When we return to our planet, the High Court may well sentence you to torture.
He likes movies, we like movies. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. I'd buy that for $1.
Greetings, everyone. We're gone to a podcast format because YouTube is a bastard and they won't let me show anything.
Yeah.
So
apparently they're being mean mommy and you know.
But we don't have to worry about stuff, which means I can turn this light off of our thing here, so we can.
Yeah. So hopefully you watched our first week's video, because that was actually pretty cool. I like doing it that way. I wish YouTube wasn't jerks.
We got to watch the trailers and everything, but we'll still be talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
This is part 3 of our coverage, where we're going to be talking about the films that got nominated for our awards show. I am working on trying to get a commercial up.
Nice.
I still need to get some grabs from, I'm hoping, Dane and Mo. If I can get them, then I can piece together something. I'll need to get something from you as well.
Okay.
And then Kim has got to do some filming for me, and then I think we'll be good to go. Matter of fact, this award show is going to be our second project. And of course, episode 200 of our pickups is our other big project. We've got some
coming up soon.
Big stuff on the horizon.
Coming up soon.
And until we've got everything we need, we'll probably delay, which means next week will be the last pickup until we have everything we need for 200. Because it's going to be $199. So hopefully we'll get everything in time to just get it as it releases on time, but I want it to be good. I want it to be perfect.
Yeah.
We're going to be working on that.
Perfect. Isn't that something?
Perfect. I'm making his quotey fingers. But I guess let's get started.
See, YouTube won't even let you show the quotey fingers.
Yeah, I know. They see some of my discs in the background and go, copyright infringement! You are taking that company's money by showing that you bought their product.
Yes. How dare you buy their product and then tell people about it.
I know. Speaking of buying product, one I've been very tempted to get on physical, because it is Love and Monsters. And it was up for 2, visual effects and cover/poster design. You should check it out. It is a pretty darn cool poster.
Yeah. Well, it's like we saw this when we were doing our new releases, and we were like, that looks cool.
And this one kind of flew under the radar for me at first, but then when I saw it, because Dave got a copy for me, and I looked into it, and I was like, oh, this is pretty darn good. Unfortunately, it's on physical. No, that's not unfortunate.
I was going to say.
Unfortunately, it's only rental if you're not getting on physical, and that's $2.99 was the price I got when I originally took this down. But I think visual effects, it's got a good shot on visual effects. Cover design, maybe.
I think we've said before, it's hard to call with that category because we don't know how people will vote, but the idea behind the poster cover design is, does it make you want to see the film? Or is there just something about it that just grabs you and so you just like, I love that poster. And this one kind of did both for me. I mean, you know, and I will admit, I was delightfully surprised by this one. It was
a beautiful film.
It was a very well shot, very well made film. You know, it was rather beautiful, and then, you know, and it was very entertaining, more than I expected.
In a post-apocalyptic way, of course.
Well, yeah, of course. And it's worth noting that I'm not usually that big on post-apocalyptic. I can't even say it for some reason.
Post-pocky.
Yes, post-Pocky film. You have a nice big box of Pocky, and then you watch it. Anyway, so next up, we have a multiple nominee from us. A film, a little old film that some of us have heard of called Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Based on a play by August Wilson. It's what are there, 9 of them in that series, I think? And it was, I believe, executive produced by Denzel Washington, who directed the first film in this series, Fences.
Also Oscar winner.
Yes. To my mind, for my money, this was a better film. Fences was great, but it really felt like a filmed version of a play. It really did. And this one kind of did, but to my mind, not as much. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but this one, we have, it made a lot of conversation because the late Chadwick Boseman gave his swan song, basically, in one. It is an ensemble piece, but his character really is kind of the center of the play. Ma Rainey herself, the Viola Davis role in the movie, is really more of a supporting player, and the band that Boseman is part of, you've also got Glenn Turman and I'm forgetting the other 2 actors. I feel bad about that. Turman actually came close to getting a submission from me, but they all are, much of the play, much of the film is behind the scenes where they're rehearsing or talking about, plans. Boseman's character has big plans for the future, and which makes it all the more ironic that it was essentially his swan song. That, and, spoiler alert, he doesn't see the end of the film. It's a really, really good film. And Boseman does do a great job. I think the belief that he was going to win had as much to do with it was a posthumous nod as anything else, but I still believe he deserved it over Anthony Hopkins, and I think a lot of other people did too. And it did get an Oscar nod for actress, but I think we were all in agreement that Viola Davis has done better work. I mean, she's great, but she's done better work. So we ended up, of course, Boseman is nominated for actor, but we also nominated Ruben Santiago Hudson for adapted screenplay. He did a fine job adapting this play. This one may be controversial and it may not. I looked it up and found that Branford Marsalis' music was original to the film. Whether it constitutes a score in the eyes of the Bass-Ackwards Academy music branch, it's hard to say.
Well, we're not that academy.
But we're not that academy. And to us, Branford Marsalis' music was great, and we gave it an original score nod. And my beloved use of music in film category, well, this film is a shoo-in for that. I mean, music is the backbone of this movie, and it is great music. And, it's really, really solid piece. So 4 nods for this one, 4 pretty solid ones. And if I had to go out on a limb, I'd say Boseman has a really good shot winning actor. The others are harder to call, but what's your thought on this?
Well, and of course it's on Netflix.
Oh, yes.
Only on Netflix.
Although I'm sure this one will get a Criterion release eventually. It seems likely.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
I think Boseman would be the best thought, but then again, I thought it was going to be that way for the Oscars.
Well, yeah.
They even put Best Actor at the last part, which I thought that was because they were planning on. And even the people presenting thought it was going to be Boseman.
And even the guy who won, Anthony Hopkins, was asleep at home in Wales.
Oh, he thought it was going to be
because
Boseman.
he thought, exactly.
So it's just like, But, and use of music and film, I think, is the next most strongest category for it. And it was a good film. I don't feel like it deserved quite as many of the nods it got at the Oscars, but we've talked about that.
Well, it only got...
It got a whole
5?
bunch of... It got like...
I think it had 5.
I think it got makeup and hairstyling
Right.
and costume design.
Right. And I can't remember. Did it get production design?
Yes, I think production design, and I think it got a score nod.
No, it didn't.
Score, but music nod.
No, it didn't. Because there's no way to give it a music nod without. Yeah. But
and then at Viola Davis and Chadwick Boseman.
It did come really, really close in a couple of those categories. But as we've already stated, we have some solid contenders in all of those categories you just mentioned. Plus, we had some not so solid ones that somehow stuck in there.
Bad Boys beat this one soundly in the category.
Bad Boys beat this one for makeup and hair. But I mean, if Eurovision didn't make it in for costume design, then I don't see how this one could. But
so this next one got me watching stuff. And if you could see behind us, you would be able to see my copy of the series, which is which is Made in Abyss, Dawn of Deep Soul, which is the third movie in the series about these 2 children who go deep within this kind of fantasy world below. It's kind of a journey to the center of the earth tale. And this one, basically, the first 2 movies cover the first season, and then the third movie goes beyond that a step. Now, this one is available on physical. There is the trilogy collection, which, if you're lucky enough to have gotten the steelbook before it sold out, but there is a regular edition coming out very shortly. I've seen that listing, and it is on High Dive. So, you want to get something, you go there. So you can stream it. Now, it got a lot of nominations.
Yeah.
And partially thanks to me, and probably some from Jake, and some from Roger.
Well, again, I doubt Roger gave it any nominations himself, because he wasn't putting more than 1 or 2 choices in any category. But he probably helped push it over the line with 1 or 2 of them.
So...
But, yeah.
Let's see what it was nominated for. Best Picture. Another Best Picture nominee.
Yeah.
We got Hideyuki Kurata, Kyle Jones, and Jake Young for adapted screenplay.
Well, so a word on that. So this is a Japanese script, but it was redubbed into English, and I had to watch the English version because I didn't have any options. I think you watched both, and I think Roger watched both. So it's technically nominated for both versions, I think.
Yeah.
So Hideyuki Kurata is the original screenwriter. And if I remember correctly, I think Kyle Jones is the translator and Jake Jung is the translator and Kyle Jones wrote the subscript, I think. I think that was how it break down.
So we also have Miyu Tomita for voice actress. And we have... which character did she play?
I think she was the main character.
Okay.
The lead. Yeah.
And then production design. And which the Oscars would never give an animated feature production design.
Which is criminal and stupid and... yeah.
And then, of course, best animation. Now, we had some other things that we were trying that it was.
I think you missed one, didn't you?
I thought that it had a song nod.
I thought it did too, but you're the one that wrote this list up.
Well, let me see here.
I thought it had a nod for original song.
Well, I can definitely do a quick check. Screenplay, documentary.
Songs at the bottom.
Yeah, it was nominated for best documentary.
Obviously.
All right, so let's see here. All right, so
Yep, Forever Lost, written by Kevin Penkin.
all right, so also a good musical piece.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of good nominations there. Again, it's another one of our Best Picture nominees. And to me, if people see it, if
That's
the
a
voters
big if.
see it, I think it has a shot.
Mm-hmm.
Voice actress, it could be a toss-up. I do think that
People are going to have the option of watching it in Japanese.
watching it is going to be a hard thing.
Yes.
And adapted screenplay, again, all this depends on people watching it.
Yeah.
Anime, like I said, there's not a single one of these nominees that I could say maybe the song will have a better shot just because it's a lot easier for people to just look that up on YouTube and play it.
That's true of everyone but this one, but it is hard to look up songs from anime films.
Oh yeah, that's true. They are copyright.
Yeah.
So yeah, it really depends on if the people see it. That's what this thing's chances are. I love it. It'll get my vote in many of the categories, but that doesn't mean that it's going to get anywhere.
I was surprised that I was the only one to put this up for production design, but since not enough people did that category, it got in.
Yeah, I don't mean to have this phone up, but Kim has gotten to that point. Let's see here. 9-ish.
Okay.
All right. So let's take a look at the next one up.
Well, I didn't really say.
Oh, sorry. What do you think its chances are?
Well, I think the it should have a great shot if people get to it. I know we have a couple of people who didn't vote on this who either saw it or plan to, but whether that'll be enough, hard to say. But if it was a perfect world, it would have at least a good shot at animation and production design. Anyway, yep, your next one. Yep.
Okay, so.
Oh, there's the song. You put it under the wrong.
Oh, okay. So I can fix that.
Okay.
There we go.
So do you have all the ones for that one?
I think so.
I think it was just 2.
So let's talk about The Man Who Sold His Skin. It's one I saw. I was desperate to see it, and it was expensive at the time because I wanted to make sure I saw it by Oscar time. It can be gotten physical. It's but DVD only, which this needs to be.
That's annoying.
It needs to be on something else. Hulu has it. And it's able to be rented for $5, which I paid more than that. It's about this guy who is a Syrian refugee who manages to get his passport out. Basically, his visa is printed on his back as an art piece. And he becomes a living art piece and asks moral and other questions. So we had up here the nominees are Kyothur bin Hanya for original screenplay. And makeup and hairstyling, which I think both of those were pretty spot on for what they had to do. And just in general, I mean, I think it'll have a better chance than Bad Boys at getting makeup, hairstyling, and it has one heck of an original screenplay.
This is one that I'd be very surprised if it wins in that category, just knowing the group and whatever. But again, a lot of it depends on who ends up voting and who actually bothers to watch it, because that's the biggest thing, is getting people to watch it in the first place. But Makeup and Hair this is the kind of film that's kind of really made for. I mean, that Makeup and Hair was huge with this one, the makeup at least. And Kyothur bin Hanya, if I remember correctly, is also the writer the director of the film, and I was very intrigued by this movie. I would have liked to. I thought it was going to have a better showing here, especially as much as you liked it. But
I almost put up for production design because it did have some excellent.
It did,
especially with all the artwork.
It did indeed. Yes.
Those mirrors that they had set up that show you're facing them and it shows your back instead because of the cameras. I thought that was pretty cool. There were lots of interesting pieces there.
Mm-hmm. All right. So speaking of one that is up for production design. So this is going to be one area, actually, this is going to be one area where we differ radically from the Academy. Well, I guess, probably not much more so than having Made in Abyss 3 up for 6 awards. But still, the film that was up for 10 flippin' Oscars, Mank. David Fincher's film about Herman Mankiewicz, the co-writer of Citizen Kane. The film that ironically was nominated for almost every Oscar it could have been except for Screenplay. Which, I love that irony. It's kind of messed up. We were a little more conservative in our nominations for this one. I think there is little possible way you can dispute that the cinematography and production design in Mank were incredible. They were. And there were several categories that it could have been a deserving nominee where it just didn't make the cut. Makeup and hair was one. The score was one. There were several of the ones that was up for Oscars. It could have been a deserving nominee, but it didn't make the cut. But we did give it cinematography and production design, and it did manage to make the Best Picture list. It's actually probably one of the least represented films on the Best Picture list.
Yeah.
I know Violet had fewer nominations, and there might have been one or two others that were at 2 or 3, but it's a good film. I found it highly entertaining. I think it was nowhere near Fincher's best, and overall, I think the film was heavily overhyped at the Oscars. But
it's literally Oscar bait.
Yeah. You don't get much more Oscar baity than this one, but I still think it has a fair shot at production design and cinematography, because it really did rock both of those out. What's your thought?
Well, old Hollywood, which always does well at the Oscars, and if this was the Oscars, I would say this film has an excellent chance in all the categories involved.
Well, then again, it only won 1 or 2 Oscars.
That's true. But again, that would be my initial thought with who's doing it. However, we're not the Oscars. So I cannot say that this has a great chance, but it could have a good chance. It is on Netflix. So, if you want to see it, that's the only place you can right now. But it might be worth a check out if you like old school Hollywood type films. And this one is probably as Oscar baity as you can get.
All right. And speaking of Oscar bait films, this one was less obviously Oscar bait. In fact, it kind of surprised a lot of people. I think it got 6 nominations. And that is the Korean-American family drama Minari, which is an 80s period piece about a family of Koreans who moved to middle of bumfuck nowhere, Arkansas to start a new life following the American dream. And find themselves doing essentially what they were doing before in, I think, California. But then the father is hell bent on becoming a farmer and working the land, and And meanwhile, the mother-in-law comes to stay, and there was a lot of praise heaped on this film, and I thought it was a really good movie. I really liked it. I hate to say this. I really hate to say it this way, but I really believe that a lot of the praise that was heaped on this was very much the Academy trying to prove that Parasite wasn't a fluke and that they really were woke when it came to Asians now. You know?
Hey, that should be a good thing for you.
It is a good thing in a way.
That's right. Well, that speaks right to your soapbox.
Well, yeah. Well, but again, there was so much. They still were so narrow in their vision. But Minari did do a few things nicely. The Academy with Minari did do a few things nicely. And one was that Stephen Yeun, and who plays the father, and Yoo Jung-yoon, who played the grandmother, actually got nominated, and Yoo Jung-yoon actually won. I believe becoming the first Korean ever to win an acting Oscar,
She
which
did
is
an amazing job.
She did do a great job. I give her that. And Stephen Yeun did a great job, but Yeri Han, who played the mother, did a phenomenal job and did not get an Oscar nod. We ended up nominating Yeri Han for actress and Yoo Jung-yoon for supporting actress. To my surprise, Minari did not end up doing better than that. I thought we were going to have more nods for this. I submitted it for a few, and I think you did for several.
Yeah, I think I did for several.
But I think it was just one of those ones that just didn't quite make the cut at the end.
I had a lot of ones that outranked it in categories I put it in.
Yeah.
Except for the supporting actress.
Right. Well, yeah, I kind of doggedly held on to those. It did have wonderful music, and I really did think it would get in the music category, but it didn't. The Stephen Yeun would have been a nice one, or Lee Isaac Chung, the director and writer. It would have been nice if he made it. But, you know, we did get the 2 nods, and I do think, again, this depends on who gets around to watching it, but
Yeah.
and it depends on who's going to actually remember, because people don't remember actors well if they've not seen them before. And I know that's one thing that hurts a lot of foreign actors when it comes time for these award shows. People just tend to forget them. But I do think both of these ladies did wonderful work and have decent chances, you know, at least.
So, you can get this on physical, or you can rent it for $2. I think that I really do think that the supporting actress is a pretty strong one, especially if they see it. An actress has a shot, though it's got heck of a competition.
It does, yeah.
Not that supporting actress doesn't, but darned if actress doesn't have some amazing competition this year.
Indeed.
It will not be getting my vote for Best Actress, because what was getting my vote.
Well, yeah.
So you know, but it could, like Jake said, it depends on who sees it.
Right.
So going from that to a documentary, which has a multiple nominee. And this documentary actually got nominated for Best Documentary Feature, which some of our multi-nominee documentaries did not.
Yeah.
But this is The Mole Agent, which is a thoughtful look into the nursing home situation, and I think it was Chile?
Yes.
And
Chile.
so this one got I think a foreign feature nod, didn't it?
At the Oscars?
Yeah, or it was on the short list.
It was on the short list for foreign feature and documentary feature, but I think the documentary feature
I know it got documentary feature as a nod. And it is on physical, and DVD only, and on Hulu, and you can rent it for $2. It's up for documentary feature and poster design / cover. It's rather cool. It shows the old man with the spyglass, just like you can see the eye, just like right there.
You gotta love that poster.
It's a delightful poster, and the movie is not. It covers a subject that's heavy, but at the same time, the film doesn't feel heavy.
Right.
There is a lot of. It shows not just the negative, but it shows the positive as well. It's about this older man who's been hired by the family of another older individual to basically investigate a nursing home, covert, and check out how it's run, check out the people there, and see if they're being treated okay. And there's kind of a twist to how it turns out at the end. And it really is a fun feature. I like it. I don't know how good a shot it has. Again, people need to see it, but it's worth watching.
Now they can vote for that poster art if they just look
poster
at
art
the
people could see.
Yeah, exactly. Like, does this make you want to see the movie? All right, you know.
I think Amityville Vibrator is going to win that.
I don't know. Well, I really don't know. But yeah, the mole agent was nice. It really blurred the lines because, in a sense, he could have been a nominee for actor because he was acting a role. But it also is a documentary, and it's very intriguing. And I like they had the basically the you could call job search or you could call it casting call at the beginning. They pretty much tell these people straight up, you're going to be a secret agent. You know, that's kind of like you know, you get dude's 90 years old. What else is he going to do, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
It was a great film.
Right.
I enjoyed it. So, speaking of films, Monster Hunter, which got nominated for stunt work, the Mila Jovovich epic action fantasy film based off of the video game, which was okay. It is on physical. You can see it with a Star subscription, or you can rent it for $20. So you're paying one way or the other. But you know, the stunt work was good, and it had a lot of good action. It had some decent special effects. I think it was up for a couple special effects, but didn't quite make the cut. Overall, decent.
Well, you got to mention, I mean, not just Mia Jovovich, but you had Ron Perlman and Tony Jaa in there. And yeah, I think a lot of the stunt work nomination may have been to deal with Jaa's work in particular, but I found the film surprisingly entertaining. This was one of three that this batch, it's funny how it falls out. This batch, there were actually only three I had not seen when the nominees were announced, and I watched them all this week, and Monster Hunter was the first one I got to. It was quite entertaining. I enjoyed it, but am I heartbroken that it's only up for stunt work? Not really, but you know, it's still, it could have been up for effects, you know, or makeup. It could have easily been up for makeup, but
I think there's chances of
those spider scorpions or whatever the hell they are. Actually, production design on that would have been a good choice too. But anyway, so my next up is another film that was an Oscar nominee for documentary feature, and indeed it won, to many people's surprise. And that is the film My Octopus Teacher, a Netflix documentary about a filmmaker who returned home to South Africa to basically recalibrate. He was feeling a little burnt out and what have you, and went swimming off the cut. I envy this guy. I wish I could go down to the beach and have this.
They just walk out of my nice house. It's up on the cliff next to the beach and just walk down to the ocean.
Oh man, but yeah, he had like a little lagoon for his backyard, like a kelp lagoon basically. And he ends up going down there and finding this octopus, and it's like love at first sight sort of thing, you know. I joke that this is the first Oscar-winning tentacle porn, but it's really, I'm joking. It's not really that bad. It's actually a wonderful film.
Yeah, the sex scene between him and the octopus is really short.
Very tasteful. Oh, jeez. Anyway, it is, in a sense, a nature documentary, and it's also, in a sense, kind of like a memoir. I mean, it really is. It's a weird little hybrid. It's hard to say what it really is. But what it is friggin' gorgeous. The other award that it's up for is cinematography. And this guy, by trade, is a cinematographer. Yeah. That's what he does. And just the camera work is incredible. And this is definitely a film that if it gets a physical release, I'm going, 4K if possible.
I hope this doesn't go DVD only.
If this is DVD only, that'd be some bullshit.
Likelihood is if it gets the release, it'll be Criterion. Though.
Likelihood, and I hope so. And I really want to, I would love to get this on Criterion. And especially if like one of the bonus features is just like additional footage, like additional nature footage or whatever. It's a weird film, but it's really good. And it's one of my highest rated documentaries that I've seen in the past few years. And like I said, this is probably... It's actually difficult for me to know whether I want to pull for this Mank or Between Shadow and Soul for the camera work.
I was going to say, we got some really strong cinematography nominees this year.
I know.
So, it's on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
It does have it is one that... Documentary feature, probably not for me. But cinematography is going to be hard for me as well to decide. And again, it's about will they see it? Will they see it?
Well, yeah. I mean, you would think nature documentary. That's pretty. I
mean, it was definitely the most harmless documentary.
That's a good word for it.
But I don't know.
Right. Okay, so next up, we have a film that will not come across as harmless to some in our group. It's a film called Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always, which a lot of people had hoped would get an Oscar nod, and of course it didn't because it was a critically beloved indie. So, yeah, most of them get left in the cold. But this one... focuses on a young lady, I think she's 17 if I remember correctly, who finds herself in the family way, and she lives in Pennsylvania and learns firsthand that is going to make it difficult for her to get rid of it. And so she and her cousin make the trek to New York City to, get an abortion. And the movie got tons of praise for its very simple, unsentimental direction, for the decent writing, for the performances by the two leads. It got a ton of praise from the critics, which is why I had to seek it out to watch it in the first place. And in the end, I agreed enough with the critics that I think was probably the only one that submitted this person, but I managed to get Talia Ryder a nod for supporting actress. She plays the cousin. It is a kind of a difficult film to watch, but it could have been worse. And again, it's a pretty straightforward film. Anyone that's afraid it's going to be too didactic or polemical or whatever is probably not going to be watching it in the first place, but they're not going to find out that it's really not. This is not a Michael Moore film. This is... But anyway, but what was your take on that?
I did not like this film at all. And... I don't think that it's got a chance in heck of winning supporting actress.
Right.
Again, it's about getting it seen. I just don't think we're going to be able to get many people who are voting to see the film.
Probably not.
I did watch the film, and I'm not voting for it. So, I can say we've covered at least one supporting actress that has my vote over this one. Mm-hmm. It is on physical.
Mm-hmm.
You can rent it for $4, or if you have a subscription to Cinemax, like everybody does, I'm sure,
nope.
you can watch it on their streaming.
Okay. All right. Now, one that's probably seen by a few more people who'll be voting is The New Mutants. This is a film that was a victim of a lot of corporate bullshit. A lot. And it almost didn't even see the light of day. And then, partly because it was a Fox production, when Disney was looking to take over Fox, they took over Fox. They didn't know what the hell to do with this. So they sat on it for several months and then dumped it in theaters for, 2 weeks before they went straight to physical, basically. So But whatever the case, this would have explored a new corner of the X-Men franchise, the universe. And it did ultimately explore it briefly. But the likelihood that Disney will come back to this well anytime soon. But it's unfortunate because the final film that came out, the New Mutants, that came out like 3 years after it was supposed to come out, is actually not a bad movie. It's actually one of the better X-Men movies, which is really sad. Now, of course, I knew from the start when I heard that Anya Taylor-Joy was playing Illyana Rasputin, I was like, okay, I'm on board. They basically, amazingly, had almost the original cast of the New Mutants. You had Magic, Wolfsbane, Moonstar, Cannonball, and Sunspot. I think basically Karma was the only other...
Yeah, Karma was the only one of the originals that they didn't have.
So they actually had some fidelity to the comics, at least in that. Then, of course, they decided to go and make it into a horror film set in a asylum. This could have been part of our August in the Asylum.
It could have.
I didn't even think about that. But anyway, too bad. The film is actually very competently done. It's well acted for the most part. It good. This story was better than I expected. It was going to bring Mr. Sinister into the X-Men universe, which was a nice setup for that. But in the end, one of its strongest points was the visuals, and we nominated it for visual effects. So, which the Academy failed to do, unfortunately. But, it's got a shot here, though. What is your thought on, now that you finally saw it?
It's on physical. It can be seen if you have an HBO subscription, and you can be rented for $8. If you have a Disney Movie Club membership and you have an order you're doing, it would be a great candidate.
It would.
Like another one on this list that we're going to talk about soon.
Which I already did.
That you could just scoop up for a lot less than that. Now, I liked it. I was surprised by how much I liked it. It's actually one of my top X-Men films from the Fox universe. And I think that the horror angle fit very well with what they worked at. You can actually tell the people who did this actually did read at least one or two of the comics, which surprised me quite a bit. They knew about the backgrounds of these people.
Well, if I'm remembering correctly, I believe the whole Demon Bear storyline was pulled pretty directly. Yeah.
And, I mean, they changed it a little bit, but but I'm not going to ruin it in case you want to watch it. But I think that they did an excellent job with it and utilizing the powers involved, let's just say. A horror tale works very well in this context.
I do know that, and speaking of ones where the horror tale works, I know intimately Illyana's background, and they did change that for the film. That would have itself made a pretty good horror film. But I figured they probably figured
they made her background pretty horrifying already, and that they're altered. Those creepy guys with the face.
They were pretty creepy, but yeah, she has, to put it mildly and succinctly, one of the more twisted and unfortunate backstories of any comic character out there. It's one reason I like her so much. I feel sympathy. It's like, but yeah.
And she is a total bitch in, what was that one? Exiles.
Oh, yeah. Well, that just adds to the twistedness. I actually saw a new chapter of Illyana recently because I read some Gambit and Rogue comics, and she was actually present at the wedding, and it was interesting where apparently she claimed to be afraid of spiders, which is weird that she would be afraid of spiders. But
I also like what they did with Lockheed in that too, which was funny. Well, Now it's my turn.
Yeah.
So let's go with a cowboy flick, News of the World,
Woo!
which Tom Hanks movie.
Yep.
And very well done cowboy flick, which can be seen on physical, which is how I saw it, or you can rent it for $6.30.
Not really a cowboy, but
well, in a way,
Western.
It's a Western film.
It's a Western.
And done for costume design and sound. And yes, the sound in this is really well done. You have all of the mixing that they did with the wagons, with all of the different stuff they've had to go with.
The
Sandstorm. It was a very well done film. A very great period piece. You could see the costume design was very accurate to that. It is, if you like Westerns, you'll like this. It's a very well done Western. I didn't like Westerns that much, and I liked it quite well. I think it has a shot if people see it.
It is kind of a shame that James Newton Howard's score didn't make it here like it did at the Oscars, because it was a great score.
Yeah.
But it does fully deserve both of these nods. I'm a little surprised this one beat Eurovision for costume design, but they're both excellent. But the sound, absolutely, it was good.
I had Eurovision up for costume design.
Yeah.
I also had Psycho Ape, which should have gotten it. But Psycho Ape is going to be on our last part.
Yeah, we'll get to Psycho Ape.
Which I helped get it a lot of nominations. So let's go to Nomadland, the Best Picture winner at the Oscars, which is not up to Best Picture.
And the Best Actress winner,
Yes.
which is not up
yeah, come to think of it, the two it won for are not up to it. And that's all right. I disagreed with both.
Well, no, didn't it win this one?
Oh yeah. Well, no, I disagreed with the actress and the
Right.
and Best Picture.
Right.
But it is up for Chloe Zhao for adapted screenplay and director, and Charlene Swanky for supporting actress, which I felt she deserved. It is physically available. Again, Disney Movie Club order.
That's how I got it.
Or rent for $5.99. It is a tale about people who live out of their cars essentially, and they're nomads. And Swanky is an interesting character because she actually is one of those nomads, and so she brought a lot of realism to that, and was a very sympathetic character. I thought that she did an excellent job for what it was, so I'm glad she got that. And Chloe Zhao did deserve the director award for that. And I do believe that the nod for adapted screenplay is warranted. Though I felt like this one was overblown. And I think that, was it Frances McDormand?
That won the actress?
Yeah.
Frances McDormand, yeah.
And you see, yes, I think she did a decent job, but I did not feel like she was the best actress in the room. And I didn't even feel like she was the best actress out there for 2020. And 2021, because the Oscars included that. So
she was excellent, but she was I
don't feel like she'd put her acting to me is much like you looked at Jack Nicholson's acting in Batman. Yes, it was an excellent part, but I feel like she just phoned it in. I don't feel like she put a lot of
I do
effort
not
in.
think she phoned it in, but I also think part of it is if I'm remembering correctly, you do need to mention this, talking about Chloe Zhao as a director. You touched on Swanky being an actual nomad. If memory serves correctly, if I'm not mistaken, Frances McDormand and David Strathairn, I think, were the only professional actors in the cast. There were very few professional actors. Almost all of them are people from that milieu, from that world. And not enough people talk about Strathairn's role. It wasn't his best performance, but he did a great job. I do think McDormand was overblown. I don't think either of them phoned in their roles. I think that they did a really good job working with non-professionals. But yeah, there were just so many great actress choices this year. yeah, I don't think Mcdormand was one of the top. I do think you've overblown Swanky just a little bit. I really liked her in the role, but she wasn't one of my top picks for the year. But all the others, I will be probably leaning towards this one for director myself. I think it has a fair shot at that.
If people see it.
If people see it. But this is one that a lot of people have or will see. But it's hard to call. Again, with our group, it's hard to call how many of these will actually translate to wins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, next on the list is an excellent film that you can get on Prime, or you can rent for $12, which is One Night in Miami. Now, this is sort of a fictional meeting between Martin Luther King.
No.
No, I'm sorry, not Martin Luther King, the other one.
Malcolm
X. The opposite end of the spectrum there.
A little bit.
Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali.
Well, Cassius Clay at the time.
Yeah. And, gosh, what was
Jim
his?
Brown and Sam Cooke.
Yeah. And it's an interesting... It was a really interesting conversation, and that's what it was. It was a stage play, really, is what it felt like.
Well, it was based on a play, but I didn't think it felt as much like... Again, kind of like... I thought Fences felt like a play. This one kind of felt more like a movie to me. But it had a lot of play-like feel to it.
So, Leslie Odom Jr., of course, is supporting actor. This is really a hard one to tell actor from because it was more of an ensemble. But Kingsley Ben-Adir did do very well with his part of Malcolm X, which got him an actor nod. And use of music and film, because good God, it had a great soundtrack.
Oh, holy crap.
And then, of course, Speak Now, performed by Leslie Odom Jr. and Sam Ashworth.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
You just can't spell. It's Ashworth.
Let's see, for original song.
Yeah.
So how would you pronounce this one?
Ashworth, whatever.
So,
which I believe Odom Jr. was a double nominee at the Oscars, and he is here again.
And it really was, and it was a great film. I think it's one that I think many people overlooked as time went on. But I'm glad it did get some Oscar love. I don't think it won anything, did it?
I can't remember.
But definitely got nods. And I do think that the acting was spectacular in the film. And the music, to me, if anything gets the win, it will be use of music in film for this. Though it is a strong category. But this one is there.
Now, of course... It's easy to go to YouTube and watch the music video for Speak Now, and it is a pretty powerful song, and it's a good video, so if anyone bothers to do that, that could give it a shot there. Use of music and film, no doubt. I think we had, I think you were the one that said Odom Jr. should be up for actor, and everyone else went supporting, the Academy went supporting. My thought, this is my idea, it is an ensemble between the four actors, but of all of them, I can't even remember who it is that plays Cassius Clay. I really felt like he had the smallest role.
Yeah.
And the film really, Malcolm X is central to everything.
Well, really, it was between him and Leslie Odom. Those were the two that were constantly...
Well, yes and no. I thought that also... Aldous Hodge, who played Jim Brown, I thought had just as big a role as Odom Jr. did. So it's kind of on a gradual continuum, and it was hard to say. But
Odom Jr. played on different sets, though. A lot more than that.
Yeah. So we'll say, but this is what we ended up with, and for better or worse, it's but. I think it's pretty cool. We got some good stuff with that one, and hopefully some people will watch it and vote for it.
So, well, we'll move onward. To Onward, which you can watch on Disney Plus.
And you left a word out there.
Or you can get physical. So we've got Best Picture, and then Tom Holland for actor.
Voice actor, you left
yes.
out a word.
Well, it's acting regardless.
Still.
He could have been up for actor.
He could have been.
But putting a voice actor and actress in there, it's not going to end up with voice actors being for actor and actress at that point. Julia Louis-Dreyfus for voice actress. And Carried Me With You for original song by Brandy Charlize
Carlisle.
And Phil Hanseroth. Hanseroth.
Yeah.
And Tim Hanseroth.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Best Animation.
Mm-hmm.
Pixar did 2 films this past year,
mm-hmm.
and both of them were spectacular films.
Mm-hmm.
Onward, of course, being overlooked for the big one, Soul. And it's understandable because Soul...
Because there's only room for one animated film for most people. It's like...
And Soul was spectacular.
Right.
And this one was really good. But this one was really good, too. This wasn't like when they put out 2 films and it was...
Yeah.
Inside Out and The Good Dinosaur. Were they the 2 that...
Yeah.
I think that was like... No comparison between the 2.
Not at all. And I personally don't think that... I mean, Soul was clearly the better film, but Onward was a solid film.
I was going to say, not by the links that it was on those 2. So, it was a good film. I was very happy watching it.
Mm-hmm.
Great film about brothers reconnecting and taking that journey together.
Mm-hmm.
It does that Pixar characteristic. You have your little tearful moments.
Mm-hmm.
It really was good, and I think that they deserve the nominations. I don't know if it will win, but hey, I'm glad that it got it.
Well, I'm really pulling for this one for original song. I'm not holding my breath, but the Academy overlooked it, and I think this is like the perfect Academy-friendly kind of original song. And then overall, I mean, animation was really solid with that one. Voice acting was solid. It was one of my favorite films of the year. But I admit, anytime it's directly up against Soul, it's going to have a hard time beating it. But Soul did not have an original song, so...
There you go.
So, my next one, we have a couple of short films here. And this one... Ooh, I did not know what to make of this going into it.
Unique.
It was unique. Okay, and this was, I believe, a nominee for animated short at the Oscars. And it's a little film called Opera. Significance of the title is, don't ask me. But anyway, it was, I believe, a Korean short, if I remember correctly. So basically, you start watching this film... And then about a minute or 3, well, it's only about
it's not very long.
6 minutes, 5 minutes?
Just long enough for you to see the full picture.
It's basically, you start watching it, and a minute into it, you're like, the hell am I watching? Is this the movie? What? But then, I think it was around then, I think it was like a minute or a minute 20 into it, you're like, wait a minute. Oh, there is something going on here. But it's a fascinating... I've never seen a movie like this. I can put it that way. It's weird. But it's interesting. And once you get pulled in by the halfway point of this really short film, you get pulled into it and you're like, this is kind of cool. But it was not my favorite film of the year by any means, a short film or otherwise. And I did not ultimately nominate this for the category, but it got a nod nonetheless. And I could maybe see it winning, but I'd be surprised if it does. There's some really strong ones.
It's about finding it, and that's a lot harder. And if you don't have an inside track, you're going to have to pay like a movie company for their short film list, and that's if they offer it.
Yeah.
So it's been hard to find. It was hard to find when I found it, and but I was glad I got that short film.
That short film package was how I saw it. Yeah.
And but you know what I'd love to do with this? out of all of them, this one is the one that I could most see as wall art. And
Yeah.
I would love to have like an electronic poster or something like that of that whole thing just on the wall and just watching it play in the loop. I just think that would be really cool to have.
Okay.
I mean, come on, that would draw an eye.
Right.
Speaking of drawing an eye, another short film for animation, Out, is out. You can get this one. You can see this one on Disney Plus without too much difficulty. It's exactly what it is. It's about a guy who is he's got his husband there, and they're working with his parents.
Husband or boyfriend?
Boyfriend. I know it's hard to say what they definitely are in a relationship.
Yeah.
And his parents are coming over to help them, and he hasn't told them that he's gay yet.
Right.
And there is a sort of magical
From moving
thing.
day, they come.
Yeah, there's sort of like a magical thing that happens, and it helps lead to that connection.
Mm-hmm.
I thought this was a really good film. It was on the short list for Oscar nods.
Mm-hmm.
It did not get one, so I'm glad it got a nod here.
Mm-hmm.
I might have been the one that pulled for it, but it was worthwhile. It's my pick probably for best animated short film, and I really liked it. I thought it was great. It was a wonderful LGBTQ film, and it had all the little steps that were needed.
Cool.
To me, I'm just glad that it was there.
Cool. I quite liked it too. I thought it was really well done. It wasn't my top pick for the year. This was one of the other ones. This one and the next one are the other two that I needed to watch for this week, and I got them knocked out in the last couple days. So Out was the last short film. I have now seen all 18 of the short films that we've nominated, which is nice. That's good. That's a rare thing to be able to claim. I really liked a lot of the animated films that came out this year, and I'm really disappointed Genius Loki stole one of the spots from one of the really nice ones. But both of these, I think, are deserving nominees. They weren't on my list, but they are excellent. Had I seen Out, there's a chance it would have been in my, one of my nominees. This one, okay, we're back to our particular Academy member who stacked the deck. You remember we talked about Clementine a couple weeks ago. The other film that they got nominated, I think it was the only other one they got nominated, but they definitely got it well underway, is a film called Palindrome, which in appropriate fashion starts with a screen that declares the end, and that kind of tells you what you're in for. This was an artsy film. If opera was artsy, this was super artsy. It was, oh boy. If I were to describe it, it essentially centers on two individuals, a very, very nervous, socially awkward black dude, and a young lady who is sort of an artiste, if you will, who also, she's in a lesbian relationship, so I guess this one has a little bit of that LGBTQ as well. She is introduced when she calls him and tells him she's going to die at 11:01 that evening, and it starts a mad scramble on his part to find out who she is, and mad scramble he promptly forgets about and eventually comes back to it. I don't know how to describe the plot. May not be the right word for it.
Well, definitely, it's art.
And I'm sure you probably particularly love the scenes with the doctor, the psychiatrist. I mean, that probably made like the psychiatric practices in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest look downright high quality, right?
He straight up murders the dude.
Yeah, this is...
and that's not really ruining anything. It happens at the beginning.
I know. This is such a weird... Oh, and you gotta love his great dance moves, too, you know? And then that nurse, something was off about that nurse. I don't know what exactly. And I love the whole subplot about the armed robbery. That was an interesting...
That was weird. Just like, here, put on this vest. How you doing, brother? And how they were arguing and stuff.
They kept calling him friend. And he's like, I'm Fred. No, friend.
Yes.
So, so what was your take on this one?
So, it is available on Tubi.
Yeah.
So, be prepared for those commercials.
Yeah,
But the sound was interesting.
Yeah, we should say it's up for sound, cinematography, and Billy Jupp's original score.
I'm not sure about original score, but whatever floats your boat.
I really liked the score, but my question is, was it original? Because it had a very strong classical vibe to it. And I wonder how much was original and how much was borrowed.
To me, the strongest piece for this is cinematography, and I am surprised it did not get editing.
Editing, I could see.
Because editing was that was one of the big pieces for this, was the editing.
Oh, yeah.
But the cinematography was also pretty good. The camera work was good. The work with the color and black and white scenes and how they alternated. That is a lot of cinematography work.
Yeah.
I think that if it could win anything in this category, it would be cinematography, though. Competition is stiffed in all these.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. But, hey, it got 3 nods.
And again, the question is, now we've seen it, obviously, but how many other people will see it? You know, this one...
At least one other.
At least one other. Okay. Okay.
And it's on that... So I know that a lot of the people who have access to what I can provide will see it. Maybe.
Oh, okay. Plus, if it's on Tubi, that does make it easy to watch.
I mean, it's not really hard to watch it.
Good deal. Now, I am kind of glad this one did not get a low budget nod, because I really wonder with this one as well if the budget was really that low. But I know it was nominated in that category. Anyway, next up we have a Hulu production that was widely touted as an Oscar potential for original screenplay and ended up not making the cut there. But it did make the cut here in a couple of awards, and that was a very intriguing comedy / kind of time, I guess you could say time travel thriller in a sense. Comedy / romantic comedy / general oddball film called Palm Springs, which a lot of people kind of looked at it. I guess the shorthand nowadays with any film like this is to say it's a Groundhog Day type movie. Basically about an individual who's repeating the same day over and over and over and over again, which happens to be a wedding in Palm Springs. Now, the twist is that you're actually introduced to this via a second person. A girl who is, I think, the sister of the bride, if I remember correctly, who goes out for a night of cavorting with the guy who has been repeating the same day over and over, but she doesn't know it. He tells her not to follow him. She does anyway, and wakes up the next morning, and it's the same day. And it comes to find out that the two of them, Andy Samberg is the guy, and Kristen Milioti is the girl. And there's a third guy who's played by J.K. Simmons, who is, I think, the uncle of the bride, who had gone in with him on a drunken tear years ago at this point, bear in mind. And the three of them are now stuck in a never-ending loop that they're trying desperately to get out of. And it really does a good job of playing with that idea without falling into, at least to my mind, it was not a Groundhog Day copy. It could have been, but it was its own thing.
Groundhog Day by way of rubber.
was a bit of rubber to it. Yes, just a bit. I really enjoyed this. I really did. I was mildly disappointed by J.K. Simmons. I was expecting more from him. Although I absolutely love, you blink and you miss it. But you talk about your cameo appearances. There's a blink and you miss it cameo of his character from Whiplash. And I absolutely love that. But basically, it's a very intriguing film. Sandberg is an intriguing actor, and I loved Kristen Milioti. She did get multiple people submitting her in different categories. Unfortunately, if they had put her in the same category, she might have had a shot of getting a nomination. But in the end, the film got that original screenplay nod for Andy Ciara. And Andy Samberg is one of our nominees for Best Actor. And we actually had a couple of people submitting this film in multiple categories, including some rather surprising members of our Academy. But anyway, yeah. You did finally see that one.
Yeah.
That was one of your last ones, wasn't it?
Yep, I liked it. As a matter of fact, that one and Supernova were the two last. And it was good. I liked it. I thought it was a brilliant original screenplay. I don't think it's got a chance against the others. And Andy Samberg does not have a chance, for at least as far as I'm concerned, acting-wise, compared to a lot of his competition.
He is kind of spitting in the wind, I think. But I mean, I do think this has a shot with screenplay.
Chadwick Boseman and Anthony Hopkins alone will make that hard.
Right. I agree with you there. I thought he was great in the film, but he didn't make my cut. Milioti almost made my list. She came really close. And I think she may have been bumped by the woman who's on this next one, actually. Next up, we have Pieces of a Woman. Is that the only nod for that one? I guess it was. Yeah. That one came close to a second.
I am surprised that you did that. The assistant, because I know you really wanted that. Best actress.
I submitted her, but she didn't make the cut.
Surprised she didn't get your top spot, though.
She wasn't my top pick.
Oh.
But she
was
a good
That's
one.
why.
Well, there you go. But yes, the Assistant was one of those many films that the Academy overlooked, that the critics adored, and I really pushed hard for it. I submitted, I think, in 3 categories, but no, it didn't.
It was too low in those categories.
It didn't make the cut. And Pieces of a Woman, I submitted mostly a little lower down. But Pieces of a Woman was a film that was an Oscar nominee for actress for Vanessa Kirby. And it's a nominee here for actress for Vanessa Kirby. She plays a woman who suffers a very difficult birth that regrettably results in the loss of their child. Her husband is played by Shia LaBeouf, of all people, and he actually did a great job. I submitted him for supporting actor, but they ultimately, and then her mother was Ellen Burstyn, if I remember correctly. She did a great job. The acting in this was pretty incredible all around. It also had great music, wonderful production design. Overall, it was a very, very well-made film. Kirby, of course, was the clear possibility for a winner. Basically, a woman dealing with intense grief, but not able to deal with it. Like, she is disconnected. She can't bring herself to deal with it, really. And that frustrates the hell out of her husband, who wants to deal with it and move on. And her mother, who thinks she should just suck it up. I mean, that was such a warm woman that one was.
Yes, indeed.
But I think she probably has a small chance of winning. Not a strong chance, but a small chance.
Well, I forgot to say Palm Springs is exclusive to Hulu.
No, I said it was a Hulu production.
Good.
Sorry, and this is Netflix.
Sorry, I'm so used to you not saying it. And yeah, Netflix for Pieces of Woman.
Yeah.
But yeah, Vanessa Kirby did a great job. I don't know if she will. She's got a tough field, but you never know.
You never know. And then the last one we're doing tonight, also a Netflix production, and also one where we agreed with the Academy, but it's a short film, so we couldn't really differ too much. And again, with the live-action shorts...
Obviously, documentary feature.
With the live-action shorts, to be honest, we could only differ but so much because we only had 3 people submit in this category, 2 of whom watched exactly 6 films, the 5 nominees and 1 other particular one. I watched those same 6 films and 1 other. So, gee, I wonder which ones were the 6 that got nominated. But of the bunch, The Present is a film that deals with a Palestinian family living on the border of, I think it's Gaza Strip, right? Like right on the wall, basically. And he lives on one side and works on the other, basically. And he and his young daughter go across to the other side one day to buy a new refrigerator for their wife as a birthday present. And everything goes smooth-ish. You know, they have to put up with some jerks at the border and whatever, but everything goes smooth-ish until they return with the refrigerator. And that... Actually, no, wait a minute. I'm sorry, I'm getting this mixed up. Because, first of all, there was the...
Oh, there was stuff at the border.
There was stuff... Yeah, so there was stuff crossing the first...
They locked him up for a while.
They locked him up for a while, humiliated him in front of his daughter, and then further humiliation, you know, she's a little girl, she had to wait a long time. Basically, you know, she had to change clothes when they got across the border, we'll put it that way. And so they get there, they get the fridge, they get everything, you know, he does a little bit of light shopping, whatever. Then they get back to the border, and then shit really hits the fan. Because basically, the film really, when it comes, this is a film that will piss you off. Mm-hmm. If you have any sense of humanity, any sense of fairness, any sense of looking at people who are abusing privilege and abusing authority and looking at them and saying, you bastards, cut it out now. This really will... The film made me angry. But it's so well done. I really liked it. It was my favorite live-action short pretty easily. This was my favorite live-action short of the year. I was disappointed that it didn't do better. I don't believe it did get the Oscar. And then, of course, I'll be surprised if it wins with this group. But again,
it's hard to say.
Depends on who watches, because it could go either way. But,
yeah. I mean, certain political persuasions would disagree with it or would side with the people who harass them. So it's hard to say. And I don't mean that necessarily as what you might think it means. Because we have people who would support necessarily the harassers that we know. So, again, it's hard to say. Mm-hmm. But either way, it's a strong contender. Mm-hmm. Well, with that being said...
Yep.
We got one more group to cover.
Uno más.
And then next week, it's going to be the deadline week. I'm going to be sending out all of these ballots, and we're going to be having a minute, and Jake's going to count them up for us.
Woohoo!
And then we're going to have our winners. We're going to know who's going to win.
All right.
So, in any case, with that being said, we'll see you on the next one.
Goodbye.